Hello, friends. I'm back. I'm so sorry I didn't come back yesterday. I'm working on a marketing campaign and I finished really late yesterday and I didn't want to come on here looking exhausted. So I figured I'd come on here before I take a shower and catch you up. And as the title shows, talk about networking. So in my last vlogma, I talked about how I fell in love with Derm. And before we jump into that, I thought I might do some unboxing. So this one is actually derm related. So, but this one, I mentioned my puppy had a birthday. And so this is his birthday present from Grandpa, which I should have bought a long time ago. But you can stick their paws in here and clean it. So, yeah. I had a really good day. And normally I would have been having a meeting. But it got canceled. So I just have a little bit of charting to wrap up. And I have the rest of the day to myself. Oh gosh, he's actually not going to be a big fan of this, I just realized. In terms of sticking his paw in there. I'm not going to do that on camera because it takes a lot of time to get him adjusted to things. So yeah, let's see what they sent me. And actually, I think my mom said I got something at their house. And I just got something from Neutrogena last week, their Hydro Boost. I haven't tried it yet. Oh, this is SkinCeuticals. I love them. Oh, yeah. Did I order this? I don't think I can't remember. I don't think I did because I still have plenty. This is SkinCeuticals C-Ferulic. This is a bestseller. I think I already own this, actually. And I love it. Talk about bright skin. Oh, yeah, I do. This is my favorite. I've tried a few vitamin C's in the last few years, and that one is hands down my favorite. It's a derm favorite, too. You're always going to see people talking about it. So, yeah, so I fell in love with derm. So about this time last year, that's when I started working for Diversity in Dermatology, originally as the blog chair. Put out a couple blogs, and then the company just got so busy that I've been spending more time with social media and marketing. And so in addition to joining them, I also joined DNA, Dermatology Nurses Association, which, and sometimes the door's open, he might bark just to give you a heads up, is the first and oldest organization dedicated to dermatology nurses and nurse practitioners with a lot of emphasis on education. They've created the competencies, which are online. You can purchase that. They talk about certification. So technically, you're not really technically, you're not really a dermatology nurse practitioner unless you get certified. And to get certified, you have to have 3,000 hours. And you have to have, I want to say you have to have like someone vouch for you, like a dermatologist. Or don't quote me on that part. But you do have to have like a reference or recommendation. Now, you're talking about people Googling things and whatever, what have you. People will often just call themselves, a dermatology nurse practitioner, dermatology aesthetic nurse practitioner, aesthetic derm nurse practitioner, derm NP, whatever. And I don't know if derm is the only specialty where that is like a thing where you can't call yourself that just because you're practicing. You can't call yourself that till you're certified. So often you'll hear me say aspiring nurse practitioner, aspiring dermatology nurse practitioner, and that's why. So anyway, I joined them. And so as far as, I've joined a lot of organizations over the years. And after a while, I just started to think about, what's the return on my investment? What am I really getting from joining this organization? Because, I benefited from being a student. I was able to get either free or really low cost membership. So actually, I used to, when I was a travel nurse, I worked for Aya Health, and every holiday they gifted us big scrubs. So that's where these came from. And at first I was going to get rid of them. And then I was like, no, girl, I'm keeping these. And so I have a few. They gave really great gifts, by the way. And anyway, so then I started to think about, what am I really getting? What's the return on this investment that I'm getting? And so I really started to really analyze that more closely, because sometimes all you're getting is like maybe you're not getting a lot. I just want to say that. But with DNA, you get access to, you get a discount on Visual DX. I should have probably went over this before. I should have probably checked on it. You get access to discounts on their continuing education, which they're really big on. So they have like a catalog of CEs that you can go do online, usually associated with some video module. They also, if you're a member, you also get their journal, which I love. Come. Okay. And I'm part of this kind of research cohort. Like they send us surveys. They've been sending us surveys all year long. And what I don't know is if everybody's getting this or if it's only part of like the research survey, because I'm supposed to read this and then answer the surveys. And so I've gotten a few of these other journals from them. But yeah, I love their content, particularly when it comes to the journal. There's different types of articles that they include in the journal. So one's a case study, which I always tell people is if you're interested in writing, you don't know where to start, you're trying to build your confidence or your skill set, start with a case study. It's kind of an easy way to get in there. Those are really fun. Those are easy. I think all of us can find a case study that is interesting, but particularly if you work or practice or see something that is unique or you don't see all the time, or you have questions about, you and your colleagues may have been stumped over, or some atypical presentation or some unusual course of therapy that happened to work out or not. Those are great to share. So anyway, and they have templates online for the different types of articles. So if they do case study, telederm, your typical journals, typical articles. I feel like there's some other ones too. It's like 4 or 5 or something like that. So yeah, that's JDNA, Journal of Dermatology Nurses Association. And yeah, these are like some education ones. So this is actually a CE. So, which I had gone through a few of these and I just saw that for the first time yesterday. So you can get 1.5 CEs. Oh, it's a farm credit. And they say it takes about 90 minutes to finish this one. And then I was looking, there's, no fees. Oh, because sometimes you have these CEs in a journal and you might have to pay like $15 or $10 or something like that. So that's nice. I need to look at the other ones. So actually this summer, so one thing I experienced that I never heard anyone talk about, and it would have been nice to know, because I mentioned like since I didn't start practicing right away, I waited till I finished the DMP program. And I really just missed the window. But if you don't practice right away and you fall within, depending on the state you're trying to get licensed, it's like 3 years in Texas. It's like 3 to 2 years. And if you don't have clinical hours as an NP or you haven't recently been in a program, then you're going to be required to either precept, like that's what Texas wanted, 400 hours, and or you do some CEs. So that's how I spent my whole summer, was doing these CEs, and it was like 48 hours. And I thought, oh, I'll knock that out in the weekend, and that was very naive. It took me 2 months, and so I was trying to get my license for Arizona, and it took that long. I even drove to Denver to get my fingerprints. And I applied for that in June. I didn't get that license till August, I want to say. And I had to like follow up with them about that. And but the one I have for Virginia, I got in 4 weeks, like less than 4 weeks. My DC one took like 15 months, and I had to physically go there. And that was, considering like how challenging it was to communicate with the board of nursing for DC online, physically showing up there was as easy as it gets. as easy as it gets. So if you're watching this and you're in any of those states, that's my experience. But yeah, one thing people don't, and the thing is, everyone knew I wasn't practicing, and no one said, hey, you might want to reconsider that because you might have to go back and do all this education before you can get your license. So that's what I did. I was required to do 45 for Arizona, 48 for Virginia. Sorry. Thank you. And in pharmacology. Hey. And so I did. So I put all of it in derm. There was even a Botox. The Botox one was amazing. I think that was 10. It was either 10 or 15. I think it was 15 contact hours, 10 farm hours. And then whatever was required, like pain. Arizona went herbal medicine. DC, like some COVID requirement, I think, for everybody. DC does LGBTQ. I didn't have to do any for them though, but that's like a required one. So yeah, that's how I spent it. So that's another great way to kind of boost up your resume if you're looking for a job. And I put them all together so like if you're gonna like apply for a job, and you can submit extra documents in addition to whatever is required, or CV, resume, whatever. That's something you can submit, particularly if you are an aspiring dermatology nurse practitioner and this might be your first job, right? So that can help boost up to show that you're invested. Yeah, so you'll hear me talk about that a lot because they do like to see that you're spending time on your education and training. And actually, I read an article about a year ago, maybe in Dermatology Times, and it was a physician who was, probably a dermatologist, who was crediting, it probably was a DNA article. I don't know. Anyway, he was crediting DNA. He said that he sends his nurses to the DNA conference every year. And basically, he gave them the thumbs of approval to the organization. I think that actually influenced me a lot to join them, by the way. So you get access to the journal, CEs, you get a reduction, you get the discount on Visual DX. Sometimes they don't do live. Do they do live webinars? There's a bunch of webinars online. I don't think any of them are ever live. Then there's the MP Society. There are a list of things on there, and they're always looking for help. There's a bunch of committees like education, policy, the journal. Don't quote me on all of those, but they always want help. They're pretty active. If you're on the email list, you get a lot of notifications from them about maybe awareness topics like healthy skin. Certainly they're marketing for the conference, opportunities for CEs. So I actually love getting their emails. I love to see what they're talking about, and I love that they're so active. They're on Instagram. I don't know if they're on Facebook. And I don't know if they have a YouTube channel. But they're always looking for help. And then I joined Society of Dermatology Nurse Practitioners. That might have been the first one I joined. And so the main thing that from as far as my experience goes, they do live webinars, and then they do a good discount on Visual DX. I use them to do my Visual DX discount, which I don't want to say what the percent was, but I thought it was more than DNA. And that's actually kind of why I did it, because I felt like, just having the live webinars wasn't really enough to make up for the price and membership. And then the big thing they do is their annual conference. And I know that they want to do more. They just need help. And honestly, if I wasn't doing what I was doing for the other organizations, I would love to help them build and, scale and all that stuff. Because like I said, they're really dedicated to derm MPs. So that's another one I joined. And then what else? Well, I went to the conference. I met people there. And then what I started doing when I attend these like virtual webinars, they were saying like, oh, share your social media link. And so I was starting to get into, so I've been in social media for a very long time, but I was incognito. And so I know I needed to kind of like be present on my blog, I talk about a book called Key Persons of Influence by Daniel Priestley. And he talks about the importance of like establishing your own profile and not waiting for like some big job or some organization to kind of boost your credibility. Like you can do that yourself. And one place you can do that is by establishing your digital footprint. And so, you know, there's a saying like, you are whoever Google says you are, and you have some control over that. And so I started making my presence known on social media. So when I was in that webinar and they said, you know, share your social media link, I was like, this is a great way to kind of get myself out there. But also, if this had been in person, I would certainly be talking to people and we'd be exchanging information. So then I started to, you know, see virtual opportunities differently in that way. So I started, and mostly people just share LinkedIn because, in my experience, when it comes to clinicians, there's like two parties, right? Might be three. There's one who's just against social media. They are proud to say they don't use social media. There's another one that uses it for solely for entertainment. And then there's the rest of us who use it to leverage as a networking, right? And so what I found is that when you compare all the social media platforms, LinkedIn is the most popular among clinicians and even scholars, really. And one thing that's great about LinkedIn is you can't be anonymous. And so that's very helpful. You can go on people's profiles, see what they choose to share, which might be their location, their academic background, um, their work experience. People will go on there and update it, you know, update it as appropriate. And you have connections. And so like if you follow someone, so then they'll recommend people just like all the other platforms based on who you already follow. They'll make recommendations, and you can kind of get a little snippet of what that person's about without clicking on their profile or when you click on it. Once you click on it, you get notifications like, oh, so and so viewed your profile. Depending on what level of subscription you have with LinkedIn, you can see who that person is. Sometimes you can't. One thing I really just started dabbling. So even though I've been on LinkedIn, I would say I haven't really taken advantage of LinkedIn as much. Although in the last probably since before MP week, I really kind of been more active on there. And I would say it's probably my favorite platform because it's more like the communication and the information that's in my feed is more like scholarly based. You know, you're not going to go down the rabbit hole and looking over at reels and shorts all day like you can on the other ones and kind of lose track of time. And I've found some really great information on there that I've taken advantage of. I set up a meeting with someone based on that. I found some people to interview through there. And I even found a fellowship that I applied for that I'm just waiting to hear back from in January, I believe. And then I know over the summer, I have a colleague who we kind of are in the same, like just started, you know, we're aspiring derm NPs and we're looking for our first job. And I saw someone had posted their resume on there, and when you think about how much you're putting into like trying to get a job, to see like, wow, that's because there's recruiters, there's people who work at practices who know people are hiring. Because one thing about derm, and all I can talk about is derm, but I would love to hear people work in other specialties to see how much of this is similar. Is derm is very small community in general, and for the most part, most of the jobs are not going to be posted online. So you do have to kind of get on the inside. You're certainly going to see some jobs online. I saw some jobs online, but the advice you're always going to hear is to get on the inside and find out that way. And so, so yeah, she put her resume up there. I thought that was like amazing. And she might have attached a story with it saying she got a job that way for some reason. I feel like that's what she did. So I shared it with my colleague. She did it, which I thought was awesome. And then there's like an about section. That's what I need to spend some time and like do my about section, which is, you know, and that's what I do when I go visit people's profile. I read what they wrote. People are doing, I don't know if they're writing it themselves, but some people have some really impressive summaries. And I just love like their economy of words, but yet they were still able to kind of tell me everything they want me to know about them. So that's one thing I would say I need to do. But I love LinkedIn for all the reasons that I just mentioned. And so I always recommend people who are kind of interested in starting social media, but still nervous at the same time to start with LinkedIn. I tell people looking for mentors to go there. So yeah, that's my spiel on LinkedIn. I'll continue to talk about it. I'm going to write a post about it too, because it's a really valuable tool. It's a free tool, depending, to get in. And I didn't appreciate it as much as I do now. So I got on LinkedIn. So now when I was doing these, virtual webinars, I would share my LinkedIn. But the thing is, you have to execute. So I immediately go and you can, and I haven't figured out, sometimes you can hit follow and sometimes you hit connect. And I think those are people who have different level of subscriptions. And so you have to kind of get permission to follow them. And other people, you can just follow them and message them immediately. And so I also will send a message at the same time, particularly if they follow me, then I just talk back, because if I was meeting them in real life and they said, hey, I would be talking back, right? So it's the same, the principles of communication are still the same. They're just used differently. So yeah, I started being really active on social media. I kept in touch with the people who I met at the conference, exchange numbers, communicate frequently enough they don't forget about you, follow them on all their other social media platforms, like genuine, and only if you're genuinely interested in them as a person and you have something in common, right? Like some of us, we were just chatting the other day about our outlook for conferences we want to attend next year. And so some of us are going to be going to the same ones. And so we want to connect at the same time. And I know people who have been in Durham for a long time, they have seen each other over the conference circuit over a number of years. And so that's a really great way to keep up with what's going on and just have that relationship, because you just can't know everything yourself, right? So then I was doing a lot of social media. I got really into social media. I really got into it for my own platform and to build my own business. And it worked out perfectly when I started helping Diversity Dermatology with their social media. It was really like the nick of time. I had figured out Canva, my favorite platform. I was really comfortable with it. And of course, the more you use it, the more you learn and you become more efficient. And so yeah, that was great. It was like a hobby turned into something that actually ended up being very useful. And so then let's see, still network. So yeah, I think those are some of the main things. So I basically spend all my time learning about derm, right? So I was reading articles. In March to April, I did this thing called the 30-day article challenge, where I read a different article in dermatology, and I would talk about the implications for dermatology nurse practitioners. I learned so much in that 30 days about the practice, the business of dermatology, the gaps in knowledge, the gaps in care, and the lack of diversity in derm, so all those gaps showed me like there's a place here I can actually make a difference. And so that's really kind of what also kept my interest and continues to keep my interest. And so I fell in love with it even more. I'm either reading an article, listening to an article, a book, attending these webinars, doing the assignments for the Achieve program. It's basically derm all day. So yeah, I love it. And everyone's been very nice and very helpful. And the people who are in it, I know who are in it and love it. They have who are in it and stayed in it, love it, and they've been so welcoming and so supportive. Sorry. And and so really my goal now is to try to bring more people in, because one thing is for certain, there are plenty of dermatology jobs. What's lacking is the education and training. And so this might be a great place to stop, because I'm at 23 minutes, and I do apologize. I didn't come yesterday, but you know what? I was like, first of all, this is not making me money at the moment. And it's real life, sometimes you start a project and it doesn't go as planned, but here I am, and I'll be back tomorrow. And so let's see. So I'm going to finish charting. I just have a few things to tie up. And then the rest of the day is mine. I'm going to finish that article on podcasting. I'm going to do that interview. I think that's going to take out the rest of my night, actually. I need to get some groceries. I decided, well, I guess I'm thinking about it, because I was going to try to find the credenza on Facebook Marketplace, kind of cut a deal. And maybe I might need to change my search, which I haven't really done. I haven't really searched. Because mostly it's been like like a very traditional style credenza, but after going to that warehouse last week, I was like, maybe I should do more of a modern. I'm not really am I a modern kind of person? I think my style has been more classic, but I think I am going to stick with modern. And so I'm going to go back and see if that place, if they updated, if they're going to be selling furniture again this weekend. Because I did see some nice pieces last week in terms of like modern style. And so I might lean towards that instead. I had some ideas, but I think I might go in that direction. And now that I know that the ticket price is not the final price, because I think most of them were like $1,000, and so considering how much my table was off, it's probably around 6 to 8 roughly, which is what they are on Facebook too. And I didn't try to negotiate with her, so I don't know if that's an option, but I'm gonna try. But yeah, I think I'm gonna look into that and see if we can't buy some furniture this weekend. But I don't even know if that's gonna fit in my car, so I might have to. It'd have to be a really good deal for me to rent a van just to like move it. And then I was like, man, I wish there was a way for me to communicate with other people because we can all like kind of move our furniture. Maybe the people at the store know. Anyway, so yeah, I'm thinking about that. And so yeah, furniture. My dad bought me a vacuum. And yeah, get this thing cleared out. I want to do some studying. Oh, the camera. I need to get the camera. I am going to reach out to the PA who I'm scheduled to see on Tuesday for my. I think I have atopic derm, and I think that's what's causing the hyperpigmentation. And so I know what I want to treat it, and so I want to see what her thoughts are. And then now that my schedule's kind of predictable in a way, I can finally schedule some appointments with my other doctors and get that going. I want to see my dentist. She'll probably be the first person I schedule with. And then I'll probably this if I can. She's hard to get. um, that's why I don't like to schedule her unless I know I can actually make it. But hopefully, if I call her today, maybe I can get an appointment next week, maybe, or before the new year. I would love to see her this month. She'll even put me on the wait list too if somebody cancels. And then I'll see everybody else January, February. So thank you so much for watching. I'll be back tomorrow. If there's anything else I can think of oh, you know what I did want to share with you really quickly? I attended the TechsGiving virtual conference yesterday. It was amazing. People were so candid about like how they got into tech, their experience. One lady actually had got fired from Meta, and their credentials were impressive. Okay, lots of great education, and some obviously in tech people do a lot of self-teaching as well. But yeah, she was working for Meta. She ended up getting fired. She shared the actual email that they sent her to let her know she was laid off. Like that kind of transparency is unmatched. They answered people's questions. There was some technical, which actually now that I'm saying this out loud, there were some tech issues for the tech conference. You would think that's the one place you're not going to see tech problems, but I don't know if this is their first conference, but I get the feel that they're still in their, I don't want to say infancy, but they're still a pretty young company. The founders are local here to DMV. Yesterday was virtual, tomorrow's virtual, but today also started in person. I wanted to go for the one tomorrow, but they sold out. And so it's at the Audi field, and they said they'll probably have to get a bigger place for next year. Right now it's once a year. And the other one that I know I was very familiar with, that I think most people are familiar with, is Afrotech. And so after just getting like a little taste of this one, I definitely want to go to, me and my friend want to go to Afrotech. We've been wanting to go there anyway. So we're going to try to go next year. But yeah, tomorrow, TechsGiving will be virtual too. And then on Saturday, they're doing a like community service thing. I think you're supposed to be bringing old technology if you have it, like computers and stuff like that. And I actually do have a laptop I could give up, but it needs to be emptied. So maybe I'll hold on to it for next year. And then I follow this orthopedic spine surgeon, Dr. Antonio Webb, who happens to be in Antonio, Texas. So when I was thinking about what I was going to talk to you about, and I was going to share the video I watched, and I was like, oh yeah, he's in San Antonio. And now my wheels are spinning because, the conference is going to be in San Antonio. And I have some ideas on how to kind of do some networking locally, And so when I started thinking, oh, he's out there, now I'm trying to think, like, is there anything I can do, like reach out to him and maybe do? And so, so I'm thinking about that. So anyway, he has been documenting his journey, I believe, since med school. I found him when he was in residency. And so he just finished, last year was the end when he finished it was either last year or earlier this year where he finished his final boards. And so he had been in school for 14 years. He even was in this, I believe he served a little bit of time in the military, but he's originally from Louisiana, kind of had a rough upbringing. He wrote a whole book about it. His YouTube channel is amazing. Later on, when I watch this again, I'll update the description box. But Antonio Webb, 2 B's as a boy. And I watched in the beginning, I used to watch a lot of he talked about like student loans and how he paid for them. He's been doing real estate for a really long time. That was another additional stream of income. I could feel his joy when he paid off his student loans, which it was like 500,000. It was big, like either 500,000, something impressive like that. And he paid them off, which it deserves a moment of silence. But so he learned he's been doing social media. I think he has someone who helps him. And then because just like the quality and just knowing how busy he is, he does day in the lives. He interviews other people in other specialties. And one thing he really inspired me by that I executed on, he has one video where he went to, I don't know if that was his med school, but he went to a med school and he interviewed someone in the admissions office. And I was so impressed by that. I was so inspired by that because at the time I was mentoring a high school kid who wanted to go into medicine. So I was looking for resources for him. And anyway, when I saw that video, I was really inspired. So that's what inspired me to do that interview with Leahy Dermatology NP Fellowship. That's how that went about. And I have another one coming. And so I have to give him credit for that idea. And when I send these invitations, I always welcome, well, now that my channel's, I'm doing something with it, I might push that more. But I always invite, we can do the interview over a video, which is what we've been doing, or we can even do it on YouTube. And so I might do that in the future. If that's something you're interested in, leave a comment and let me know. So yeah, thinking about doing that. So yeah, anyway, so the thing is, so he's been doing this documenting. Obviously, his channel is huge too. So I'm sure he's getting some money from that. And now he's taking all that experience and teaching other physicians how to do social media. And he's talked about that quite a few times. And now that I think about it, yeah, I guess he really inspired me a lot. Some of the ideas I have coming up in the new year. So he goes around and he shows other physicians how to optimize social media. And in this recent video that I watched yesterday, he flew out, I want to say, to California. So and I don't even know what kind of doctor that was, whose office he went to, but in his practice, he has a room dedicated to videos. Once I saw that, my mind, like the ideas were going, like not only for himself, like what he can do, but how other people can come and rent out that space, right? And it was a nice space. And so they were going to be making, I think, some video content to teach, and I don't know if it's physicians or ortho spine, how to do social media. But yeah, it was a great. And one thing, I hear a lot of people say things about social media almost in a negative connotation. And that's why I spend so much time talking about the benefits and how you can leverage it. Because even recently someone was like, my patients, they all come to me by word of mouth. And the first thing I thought of is like, social media is word of mouth. That's literally what social media is. And so even if you're not using social media, your patients are using it. People are coming to you using your colleagues. When I apply for a job or like I'm going to see this provider, whatever the case may be, I am going on social media. I'm trying to see what other people say about you. And even this interview that I did, they also don't use social media, but that's literally how I found out about them, is from social media. So that is a conversation to be continued, right? And there's a lot of ways to think about social media, because you can have a social media manager. Like, you just can't really have a thriving, scalable business or practice without social media. And if you have a wonderful practice and business, imagine what social media can help you do. That's all I'm going to say about that. So we went way over the time I wanted. Maybe you enjoyed it, but hopefully it makes up for yesterday. I will be back tomorrow. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Thank you for watching.